Hello again and welcome to another episode of the Franchise Everything podcast, where we talk about everything and anything franchising. Today I'm in Sydney and I am with Anya Haywood and Adrian Warner, the franchisors of Sealer Fridge. Hello again.
Hi Glenn, how are you doing?
Great to be here.
Excellent. Lovely for you to have me here too. Thank you very much. So we're going to jump straight into it. This episode is called The 5 Key Things That Have Made the Sealer Fridge, that's a mouthful, Sealer Fridge franchise business what it is today.
Cool.
So I asked you to do a bit of prep before this sort of stuff. And the first one you came up with, as I had to check my notes, I was trying to remember it off the top of my head, was the importance of the customer database. Because let's first preface this, you've owned Sealer Fridge now for about 1 year, is that right?
Correct, almost to the day, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot's been happening. So you bought this business has been running since 1988. I know that because I checked your website.
Yeah.
So it's been, and all your vans around there, so since 1988.
That's right.
So it's a legacy business. It's been around for a significant period in the marketplace. So tell us about why the customer database you've picked as one of the most important things at the moment in the business.
Sure. So when we came into the business, and obviously we were doing our own due diligence on the business, so very much, I guess, like a lot of people out there will be looking at us to join the network, then there was no database. There was literally no database at all. So databases obviously are very important to any business. So we've got several databases. So one of them, which we find is really, really important for the franchisees, is a database around the seal profiles. So we've touched on before, there's about 700, 800 different seal profiles.
So what do you mean by seal profile?
So sure. So if you were to like rip off your seal from your fridge door, cut it in half, you would see the cross section of your seal profile, and they all vary. They vary depending on the make and the model number.
And we actually, you want to just hand me that sample? I'm going to cut you off there because we did have a sample, didn't we? And I put it aside. What did I do with it? There it is. First time ever in a podcast. Thank you, Jono. All right, so here it is.
Here's what we made earlier.
Here's what you're talking about.
All right, so these are this is just obviously a small sample.
Of the 700 plus.
Sample of samples of the types of profiles that are out there. So obviously, as I said before, if you cut these profiles.
So if you turn it to Jono, he can focus in on them. It's on.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Cool. So so for our franchisees, obviously we have got franchisees who are incredibly experienced. Some, they have literally just been doing, not just, but they have been doing seal profiles all their life. So that, they can do this with their eyes closed. But the more, recent ones, and also as well, every time a new freezer comes onto the market, then it may have a different profile to what has existed previously. So, there is a little bit of turnover of different types of profiles. So what we're doing is capturing each of these seal profiles by their make, by their model number, any other necessary information. So it's easier.
So you're capturing it by location to client name, all that sort of stuff as well.
Yes. In some cases, it depends on the corporate account, depends on the customer, but it means essentially that franchisees will be it'll be more efficient for them to turn up on site and to recognize what seal is required to complete a job. So we find that that's obviously very, very key for the franchisees to have a really efficient day. And so that was one of the key things we focused on when we first joined the business. Yeah.
Excellent. Second thing that we were talking about and you told me about was your purchase of the business. So this is clearly a key thing in the business, considering all the changes we've been going through today that you're making. So, I did it again. That's the second time I bumped that today. I'm not used to having this straight up one there. But tell me about that, your purchase of the business, how that came about, what you saw in the business and what your vision was for at that time.
Yeah,
and
sure.
still is.
Yeah.
We liked a few things about the business. One, we liked the idea that it was, as Anya's just run through, there was enough complexity about what all of the franchisees were doing that it made it very hard for someone who wasn't really embedded in the system to match that. And we're trying to supplement and build on that. So things like the customer database, we think is just increasing the power of the network that we've got. We like the fact that there's enough complexity around it and enough. You've got to get to the site and do the job then. You can't go and measure it up and then go away and get the seal and order it and then come back because that's just too inefficient.
There's a lot of pieces got to come together.
A lot of pieces got to come together. It's too costly. You're not serving the client well because you're increasing costs for them unnecessarily. So we like that element of the business. We like the fact that we think it's very flexible in terms of lifestyle. So it can suit a lot of people. And we've got franchise in the system today who were there in 1988. They're still there.
Wow.
So obviously it's working for them. And we've got obviously a lot of people that have come along over the last 35 or 35 plus years to join.
Yeah, our oldest franchisee turned 73 actually just a few weeks ago.
Wow.
And he is one of our busiest franchisees. We're currently actually recruiting for him because he's so busy. So there's a lot of demand.
How many seals
out
do you
there.
reckon he's done?
Yeah,
Oh
there's a
my
lot
God.
of seals.
Oh my
Have you tried to
gosh.
calculate?
A lot of fridges
crazy.
he's seen.
That's a lot of
That would be
fridges.
a lot, yeah. And I think that just shows as well that the industry, in a good way, hasn't moved in terms of there's still a massive demand for what we do. Every household has at least one fridge, freezer. Obviously, commercial businesses, supermarkets can have 30 or 40, cafes, etc., multiple. So what we also loved about the business, AI is not taking away the seal.
No.
There is going to be no, technological solution to what a seal does. And as we get more and more focused on energy bills, energy efficiency, etc., then a seal is basically what makes your fridge, freezer efficient or not efficient. So, and there's various, research reports around how a badly fitting seal will basically increase energy costs. So there's lots of really nice messages for businesses, for homeowners, and has that great sustainable message as well.
It really underpins the service offer that franchisees give in the field, which is crucial, isn't it?
Yeah, so that seals are not going anywhere at all, and that for us in terms of buying the business overall, and obviously for any potential franchise owner coming in, is very reassuring, and obviously even in a recession situation, people want to repair rather than replace. They also want to reduce landfill. So the seal is a great solution for that.
And you've stolen and already led us to our third point. So the third thing you came up with before we briefed on this was the sustainability realization. This is the third key thing in the business thing right now. So you mentioned landfill and all that sort of stuff there. Tell us about the sustainability positioning of Sealer Fridge, which wouldn't generally, I believe, be as obvious to people.
Yeah, sure. So obviously, as I just referred to, a seal is absolutely key in terms of whether a fridge or a freezer is functioning properly or not. That sustainable message is really important as, we move forward, into the next, 10, 20 years. And what we found is that the younger generation are not necessarily aware of that as opposed to our older generation. I think, older generation, us included here, they're more in terms of repair rather than replace. But, looking at obviously kind of the impact of, fast fashion.
And we talked earlier about mobile phones, not replacing batteries, just upgrade, get rid of the other one.
That's right. So,
they're living and breathing it every day, aren't they?
So really trying to educate the overall market, particularly that younger demographic on, don't throw away, don't add to landfill, because it actually costs to recycle a fridge because there's various activities you've got to do before you can just chuck it on, the tip, so to speak.
So that's why when you go to the tip, they separate it out and you've got to, with gas and that sort of thing.
So there's so many, disadvantages of chucking a fridge away. So what we're actually doing now is we're working with a couple of the universities down in Victoria. We've got some final year students, because obviously that's great. They're in that demographic. They're also working in the sustainability space. And then we've got some students in the more commerce, business, marketing angle as well. So we're trying to pull all that together in terms of,
you're trying to get their input on it and some research.
They're doing research. They're looking at, how can we get the messages out about, seal replacement in a way that, engages more with that younger audience. The other part of sustainability is obviously government. So quite a few years ago, there were some rebates around replacing replacing seals, and that's obviously something that we're trying to bring back. One of our franchisees down in Tasmania has already been involved in a pilot study around basically they looked at the top 10 things businesses should invest in terms of actually increasing their energy efficiency, and seals was one of those 10 factors, which is brilliant. So there's a whole pilot study that's been written up about that. So from kind of like a top level perspective, obviously the franchisees have so much to do every day, but we're here to support that and really grow the market overall, keep pumping out the messages, and obviously
sustainability is one key thing of that. Absolutely.
Well, a phrase we often use is you don't go to all of the expense of buying a new car just because your tyres are worn out.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the way we think about it. Yeah, you've got a perfectly good fridge, but the seals need replacing. Replace the seals. It's a lot more cost effective and great for the environment. And yeah.
Excellent. Now, the fourth key thing we talked about and you came up with in the sealer fridge business was the national accounts and your focus on national accounts. Can you talk us through what you're up to there, what it looked like previously, and what changes you've made on that over, say, the last 12 months?
Yeah, one of the things we're really trying to do is focus a lot on national accounts because, one, we think there's a need. I think there's the market sort of calling out for it. And two, we've got to create competitive advantage given our position where we can be the best service provider to those corporate accounts. So commercial or corporate clients make up about 70% of what we do. So that's very important. So it's you'd imagine all the fast food chains, the supermarkets, the grills, the Yochis, the Betty's Burgers, the Boost juices, as well as the Coles, the Woolworths, McDonald's and KFC, and the list goes on. So as those groups grow, and many of them are growing very quickly, they're starting to professionalize their own operations. They're looking to get more control over their service providers, and they're looking to centralize a lot of what they do. So a lot of these successful franchise or fast food groups start out and everything's done very much store specific. You need something done, just go and sort it out. As they grow, they want to try and get more control of that, do it more cost effectively and get more control over the quality of the service they're getting. And Sealer Fridge is the only national provider, both in Australia and New Zealand, of fridge seal replacement services. We're actually the only one with more than just one or two locations, one or two sites.
It's mostly independents all over the place.
Mostly independents.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're well positioned to be able to work with those corporate clients, become great partners of them, and just offer them what's an important service for them, which is fridge seal replacements, in a way where they've got control over the quality they're getting. They're getting consistent quality, consistent service across the country, both here and in New Zealand. With it, we're able to do it very cost effectively for them, so they're able to keep control over their cost, which is important to them. And for our franchisees, the better job that we do in building those corporate relationships and those partnerships with these big corporate clients, the better for our franchisees because it's more work for them. And really, it's a great competitive advantage that we're working very hard to try to take maximum advantage of.
Yeah, I bet you are. The fifth thing that we talked about, as I had to check my notes, was solutions, and I like this one because you came up with this one when we were chatting, was solutions beyond just only seals that you're doing.
Sure.
So there are other solution possibilities out there that a franchisee can do, and you're really starting to tap into and open up when they're on site. Can you talk through what those other things might be?
Yeah, sure. So as you mentioned earlier, Sealer Fridge was established in 1988. It was very much just focused on seals or fridge seals. But obviously our guys are in commercial kitchens and they're able to, assess what needs to be done. And, knowing about fridge seals means that we've obviously got a very good entry into doing oven seals. A fridge may also have a problem with its door, so the door may need to be removed and new hardware put on, etc. So those types of extra services just basically means that it's extra revenue opportunities for the franchisees. So it means that they can be in a commercial kitchen and they may then actually offer a free, what we call a free walkthrough. And so they might have been called in to do 2 fridge seals, but then they actually see 2 other doors that are hanging off. They may see an oven that needs a new seal. They may see that the fridge needs some new crisper boxes, and we've got relationships with parts suppliers. So essentially, the guys can actually access the app on their phone. They can order these parts. They're then delivered, at a later date to the customer. And our franchisees can obviously pocket that extra revenue,
Upselling,
that difference,
yeah.
between obviously the retail and the wholesale price that we've negotiated.
Yep.
So it just means that, if they're there, they can actually do some other services beyond just the fridge seal.
Have you found launching that to the network, does it depend on the franchisee who's taking up on that? Now, there's some I can imagine there's some franchisees who are just sticking to what they normally do.
Yeah.
And there's some that'd be really running with that.
Absolutely. Look, we're very much, one size does not fit all. So it is, what we actually focused on really in the first 6 months of owning Sealer Fridge was understanding about each and every franchisee, where are they at in life? Are they looking at retirement in a few years? Are they, or are they at the other end of the spectrum and they're very ambitious and they really want to buy another territory, or they want to build a bit of a team? So for us to understand, what are their motivations? What are their goals? Really to work out a basic, business plan and priorities for them was very much where we started with this business, because we did not want to treat them all in the same way. And we've got some franchisees that want a lot of support. Others are like, look, I've been doing this since 88, back off. And, so they'll just contact us really when they need us. And that's perfectly fine. And so, yes, back to your point, we have some franchisees that fully embrace, a lot of ideas that we suggest to them, and others that really just want to stick with what they know, and that's perfectly fine as well. So,
one of the things we're also trying to do is really build that sense of community amongst the franchisees. So one of the things we noticed when we took over is that a lot of them tended to be operating in their own little domain, and there wasn't a lot of cross-fertilization of ideas and opportunities. So while we're also trying to build a community in terms of communicating some of the things that we're doing at head office, there's a huge amount of experience in the network that we want to get shared across everyone. And often franchisees will come up with opportunities to provide services for their clients that we've not thought of. And so they'll say, this is an idea. And then we can then see who else is interested in it. And there are other things that we can do to build relationships with third parties that might be important to that. So this sense of community is something we're really working hard on building and developing. And we've started that process, but it's I think a lot of opportunity for us to build that.
So
that's like a sixth thing that we've got.
That's
all right.
Yeah. I mean, we have, just we introduced a WhatsApp group, which obviously, isn't rocket science, isn't hard to do, but it's broken down a lot of barriers. It means that people can be on site.
It's baby steps to get this thing moving and everything.
If they're struggling with a job, they share a photo and, other franchisees jump on, yes, mate, use X, Y, and Z kind of thing. So just simple things like that. And again,
things like that don't need to be so complex.
No.
I think I see many brands that want to build all this tech stack themselves, and it's got to be proprietary and all that sort of stuff. It's a very simple solution, basically a free solution gets it done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it just means as well, there's, we've got a quick, easy channel to remind people, the summer promotions ending, guys, get your Google reviews in, whatever it might be. So it does provide a little bit of an outlet for us to just, remind them, what's happening.
Excellent. Well, they're the 5 key things about Sealer Fridge. Thanks for joining us today.
Fantastic. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Excellent. That's it for another one of the Franchise Everything podcasts. If you'd like, please share, subscribe, do all that sort of stuff. Help us out and get this content out there, and we'll catch you in the next one again soon.